And welcome back to Representative Gregg Takayama. Thank you so much for joining me. Representative Takayama is a veteran lawmaker who has overseen tough issues such as the oversight of prisons, emergency management, and disasters. He was recently tapped to serve as chair of the Higher Education and Technology Committee, and he will now be overseeing a whole new portfolio of issues that directly intersect with all of the priorities President Lassner just talked about. And I am very, very lucky to be able to serve on Chair Takayama's committee. Chair Takayama, I wanted to get your thoughts on UH efforts to adjust to budget cuts.
Yeah, that's a good question, Della, and a really timely one, because just like every other state agency and department, I think the UH has a responsibility to find ways to reduce the cost of its operation. And, I'm pretty confident that it could be done so in a way that doesn't really weaken the basic academic and research strengths of the university. For example, we have a terrific theater and dance program that offers degrees from bachelor's to master's to PhDs. We actually offer 8 different PhDs in theater and dance, but we only have several dozen students enrolled in the graduate program. So there has to be ways of reducing the variety of offerings on the academic side, while at the same time, maintaining our strength. And I think another example is on the administrative side. President Lassner has, for the past 2 years, I believe, served as both UH president for the UH system and also chancellor for the Manoa campus. And that alone has saved more than $3 million. And so it seems to me that there are a whole slew of vice presidents who overlap functions with vice chancellors on the Manoa campus, for example, in research, in facilities and budget. So if we can apply that same consolidation to that, I think that alone could save multi-millions of dollars in the years ahead. So we need to look for ways, and I think the administration can set a good example for cuts that will have to be imposed on students and faculty.
I think that actually really flows into one of the themes for the majority, which is how across government, all parts of government, can we consolidate and really think about ways in which we do government better and smarter. And it may mean doing more with less people, but where can we find those efficiencies is what I'm hearing from you.
Sure. And another thing to think about is the fact that on Oahu alone, we have 6 community colleges. 6 community colleges that range from more than 9,000 students at Kapiolani Community College to a little over 1,000, at some of our smaller community colleges, and that's smaller than our medium-sized high schools. But each community college has its own structure of chancellors, vice chancellors, administrative staff. So it seems to me that given what we can do remotely, that we can consolidate a lot of those administrative and fiscal functions and at the same time be efficient. So I think that's something that the UH needs to look at.
And I think it's that discipline. And again, I think it's a discipline that we're asking all of our agencies to apply. So even though these are tough budget times, as a new chair, what is it that's exciting for you in this new area? What are some of your priorities other than making sure that government UH is more efficient?
Well, Della, you've attended the UH Law School. I graduated from UH and actually met my wife in the journalism program at Manoa. And so there's a lot of fondness in terms of our respect for the University of Hawaii system. But I am looking for ways for the UH to adjust to our future needs, those of our children. And an important part of that is what President Lassner alluded to earlier, and that's the UH's ability to adjust to future workforce needs. We need more nurses, we need more teachers, we need more IT professionals instead of bringing all of those specialists from the mainland. And at the same time, we need to train our construction trades workers, and our community college programs need to do play an important role in that. You know, there are 50,000 UH students, and about half of them are community college students, and we tend to overlook them. But they're a really important part of our fundamental training of our workforce, as well as providing the first 2 years of undergraduate instruction for students who can transfer to the 4-year campuses at Manoa, West Oahu, and Hilo.
You know, I have to agree with you on that. And that was is and has been a passion of mine with being the health chair formerly. You know, how do we make sure that we meet our needs? And those are high paying jobs. So to the degree that we can make sure that there's alignment between what our needs are and what the university is providing, I think that's right on. You know, I was super appreciative that I think it was the very first week of session you had your committee going out to UH. It was either the first or the second week of session. And so I really appreciate that as a member. You know, we're not stuck in the Capitol, that we go out and we see the places and the people we're affecting. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the future plans for the TC Ching Athletic Complex.
Well, first of all, I credit the UH and athletics director, Dave Matlin, for thinking out of the box. And they're being displaced from the Aloha Stadium to finding ways to bring it home to the UH Manoa campus in a ways that's cost effective. The reality, though, is that we have to face the fact that come September, when our first UH home game is, we may not have everything in place, and we may need to look at the reality of playing a game at Ching Field. It already has 3,500 seats in the current configuration. They're asking to fund seats for about 7,000 more spectators. Given the COVID reality, I'm not sure that such a large crowd can be accommodated in a safe way. So we may need to look at, you know, doing with what we have at Ching Field in terms of spectator seating, maybe expanding the press box to enable, you know, national television to be there. But there has to be economical ways of doing it, and maybe seriously looking at playing a game or two on Maui. The Maui War Memorial Stadium can accommodate 20,000 spectators and doesn't require major renovations. It requires some. But, you know, the UH football team is a football team for the state of Hawaii, not just Manoa or Oahu. So we need to, I think, examine seriously the idea of having our football team play at least one game on Maui.
So this is what I appreciate about you, Chair. You're always thinking about the different possibilities, and I hadn't even comprehended that. I mean, so much of what's going to mean for the football season to proceed will also require us to make sure we get the waivers from the NCAA, if it's going to be safe enough for COVID. I mean, there's so many challenges, like you pointed out.
We also need to look at the possibility. It's unclear how possible it is for UH Stadium to be rendered playable for at least 10,000 spectators, and that is spectators on the lower level of Aloha Stadium. Mm-hmm. How much does it cost to make the stadium safe for that? Is it more than $4 million? Is it more than $6 million? And we need to look at that possibility as well, and we cannot rule that out.
So this idea has a long way to go in the legislative session for more months, but at the same time, UH is feeling the crunch. So they kind of have to operate in both directions.
Yeah, I think at this point, you know, we need to consider all possibilities. Credit UH for proceeding on its path, because what it plans to do is make whatever improvements they have at Ching Field a permanent feature of the Manoa campus. And, you know, that's appealing in itself. For those of us veteran old-timers who remember the old Aloha Stadium, just a couple blocks from where the Manoa campus is, you know, that stadium accommodated 25,000 people and had no parking, but it was kind of a community-based stadium as opposed to Aloha Stadium, which is sort of in the middle of a highway. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of appeal to having a home-based football season at Manoa.
I'll agree. I think when we did the tour, I kind of got that feeling like, wow, this would be really cool for fans. So we only have a few more minutes with you, Chair, and I just wanted to give you some closing comments. What do you want to tell your viewers out there as we go into really the first quarter of the legislative session?
Well, I think that our message is to young people, those in high school and maybe even younger, that when they plan their futures, um, take UH into consideration, because I know a great deal of our high school graduates plan to go to the mainland, and that's fine. But they shouldn't rule out the possibility of staying home, because Manoa, for example, is one of the top research universities in the country. It's in the top 111 state research universities in the nation. And so you're not losing out on anything by staying home, going to a 4-year campus at Hilo, at West Oahu, which, by the way, has just unveiled a beautiful media center, which is a state-of-the-art one, thanks to Chris Lee. And so you're not losing anything by staying at home, going to Manoa, going to Leeward, West Oahu, or going to Hilo. And so consider that when you consider your future plans, because we'd love to have students stay home, get their education here, and stay here to work. And that's where the university needs to adjust to our future workforce needs. So thank you, Majority Leader Belatti, for making me a part of your program. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Chair Takayama. I really appreciate you.